Welcome to the Heart of Innovation. 60 minutes that could save life and limb, with new breakthrough ideas and innovation changing the healthcare landscape. Brought to you by patient advocacy group thewaytomyheart.org in partnership with Cardiovascular System Incorporated's patient advocacy campaign, Take a Stand Against Amputation. Here are your hosts for the Heart of Innovation, Emmy Award-winning journalist and founder of The Way to My Heart, Kym McNicholas, and interventional cardiologist and founder of the Save My Piggies Health Education Series, Dr. John Phillips.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the show. Well, mindset is medicine for both the physician and the patient. Medicine already recognizes the persuasive power of beliefs. The use of placebos is a great example of that. But it's much more than that, especially with chronic, painful vascular ailments such as peripheral artery disease, or P.A.D., which is restricted blood flow in mainly the leg arteries due to plaque buildup. Patients with P.A.D. feel at times as though a tourniquet is wrapped tightly around their legs when they walk. Sometimes the leg pain and cramping wake them up at night as well. Dr. Paramjit Romi Chopra joins me and Dr. Phillips in this episode to talk about the powerful combination of science and spirituality to help patients and physicians persevere in challenging life and limb-saving situations. The discussion will also touch upon the importance of a growth mindset later on in the show for those in continuing medical education situations and with patients using their diagnosis as a learning experience. So this is really going to be a wonderful show to ring in the new year 2023. Right, Dr. Phillips?
Indeed, Kym. How are you? Happy New Year. Hope you had a great Christmas. I think this is going to be a really interesting show. I've spent a lot of time the past year kind of trying to get in that right mindset, and we're ushering in 2023 now. So try to continue that positive way of thinking.
That's always hard to do. So speaking of positive thinking, do you have any words of inspiration for us today?
Dr. John Phillips, spectacular vascular moment of inspiration.
There's this poem that I picked up by Rudyard Kipling. It's called If, and I think it was went out and pressed like 1910 or 1915. But basically, It's kind of this bundle of suggestions from a father to his son. And he's kind of telling his son how to cope with different situations in life. And I thought it was apropos to maybe read a little bit of the poem as we talk about mindfulness and having a positive mind, focus and usher in 2023. So I'll read a couple of lines, and then I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. And then obviously we have Dr. Chopra's going to be joining us here, and Douglas on the line too to digest a little bit of this. But the poem starts off by, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs, blame on you. And if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. So this portion here is just trying to be even keel, I think. In the procedures that we do and what life throws at us, there's a lot of waves, crests and troughs, etc. But try to keep your head about you when everyone else is losing theirs. That's huge. And then finally, one of my favorite parts of the poem, he says, quote, if you meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. Really profound in the sense that, triumph and disaster, they're the two extremes of life. And he calls them imposters because they can kind of make you too happy or too sad. But in general, they don't last very long, and try not to take it too seriously. Again, being even keeled. So I like this poem a lot. It's actually, I have a copy of it hanging in my wall in my office, and I try to read it every day. So hopefully this will help get us in that right mindset.
I think that is incredibly powerful. I was told by a coach that I had a while ago. I had an executive coach, and she said, you literally can't get to a solution frequency if you're still on the problem frequency. She said you have different frequencies, and you have to, if you want a solution to a problem, You need to be on the solution frequency and not the problem frequency. And what that means is you can't sit there and focus on the problem, because when you're focused on that problem and focused on that problem and focused on that problem, you're never going to find that solution. And that's always been very, very powerful to me. And I think that speaks to what you were saying.
Exactly, too, because let's talk, obviously we spend a lot of time talking about health issues for patients on this show. We talk a lot about peripheral arterial disease, cardiac disease. We've talked about ALS, everything. And these are kind of the slings and arrows that get thrown at us and patients. And depending on how I respond to that mentally, I think will dictate how your treatment path and algorithm goes. I know that patients who have positive attitudes tend to do better than those that don't. And granted, there are some things that we ultimately can't cure, but we can really improve that patient's life while they deal with this disease and allow them to have a more fruitful existence while coping with whatever's going on with them.
And Dr. Chopra, I think you could weigh in right here. I'm sure you have a lot to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, I years ago, I kind of took myself down a spiritual path and understanding it. We all are on a spiritual path. And the first condition was you have to understand who we are as humans. And people ask me, what do you do for a living? And I say, I'm in the business of taking care of people. Yes, I treat P.A.D. as a disease, but I'm actually working with that human being. And to understand the human condition at the very basic becomes the key point. And everything that you've said so far is all attributes to that. I mean, we're just a speck of dust in this universe. And once we accept that there are higher powers than us, whatever you call it, divinity, faith, God, and then understand the human condition, and within that framework comes us. So we talked about, positive attitude. Now, happiness is conditional. If I have this, I'm happy. If I don't, I'm unhappy. Joy is a state of being. And that comes by accepting what the universe has thrown at us. And we are all on a journey of life, so many rotations and revolutions around the sun. We come from the earth, and we have 3 levels of existence: your body, your mind, and your spirit. Body is where we feel, mind is where we think, and spirit is actually where you feel. That's where the word inspiration comes from, into our spirits. And the only connection we have with the universe is our breath. That's why they say, slow down, take a deep breath. As we understand this with patience, feelings live in our spirit. And when that calms down, that's the charioteer. The spirit is driving the chariot, which is us, the human being. The reins are the minds. The horses are the body. And within that paradigm, all of what you just said fits. Joyful existence and health is not the absence of problems. They're the presence of solutions. That was what you were talking about, the frequency of solutions of problems. And similarly with that poem, all these things are transitional is the right word, I would say, transitory or transient. And when we start focusing on a different level, so I make my patients meditate, I tell them, relax, take a deep breath, now think of what exactly is happening. Within that framework, it is so powerful. We can definitely talk some more about it, but I wanted to kind of lay that paradigm, if you would. Mm-hmm. I could go on forever, but I wanted to just mention that first, and we definitely talk more about it.
I can feel it. This is going to be a good show.
I think this is going to be amazing. And on that note, so we can get things started, let's go to break and let's dive right in as soon as we're back. So stay with us right here on the Heart of Innovation.
Leg health can indicate risk for heart attack, stroke, and amputation. If you have leg pain or cramps while walking, get checked for peripheral artery disease, or P.A.D. P.A.D. is plaque buildup in mainly the leg arteries. Be sure to ask your physician for an ankle brachial index, also called an ABI test, where they use blood pressure cuffs to analyze the blood pressure in your legs. If they discover you have arterial plaque that's limiting blood flow to your feet, medicine and a regimented walking program are frontline treatment. If P.A.D. is in its advanced stages, your physician may schedule a surgical intervention. Minimally invasive tools are available to remove plaque and restore blood flow, including Cardiovascular System's Diamondback 360 atherectomy system, which sands away plaque that is a hard calcium. It's important to discuss all options with your physician, and if told you have no options, get a second opinion. Take a stand against amputation. For more information, go to standagainsamputation.com. That's standagainsamputation.com.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this New Year's Eve. We're trying to usher in the new year by being positive in our outlook with whatever kind of problem that gets thrown at us. And Kym and I are really happy to have Dr. Chopra on the show, kind of just sharing his thoughts about mindfulness and how he changed his mental attitude, and then how that kind of translates into a more positive attitude, I think, for his patients. So, Dr. Chopra, before the break, we were kind of talking about, I think, your general philosophy. Why don't we take a few steps back and, if you can, bring us to that point where maybe you had that epiphany or that cathartic moment that said, maybe my current state of mind isn't where it should be, and I'm going to try to get to a different state of mind, and walk us through how you got there.
Yes, we don't decide when we are born. I don't think we'll decide when we are dead either. And it's life. It's life longing for itself. So, I was born in Burma, Mandalay, one of the youngest of 7 kids. Find myself next in India. My dad had come back to India from Burma for whatever reason. And as I've gone through life, next thing I know, I find myself, I'm 17 and a half years old, I'm in medical school. And, life is happening to me. 22, I'm a physician. Next I know I'm married. Next I know I'm in the United States. I'm at Howard Medical School. And I'm, like everybody else, running to climb the ladder of success. Youngest chairman, this, that. But I was unhappy because, I'm chasing. I was like a cat chasing my own tail. And as I started looking at, things when you're young, you don't have money, you aspire for things. But there was an inner hollowness coming in. It was always about, I want to be this title and that title and this thing and that thing. And
wow.
Still unhappy, still not feeling good. And now I was born in the Sikh faith. And religions in general give you structure to understand. But there is one sun, one moon, one earth, one solar system. The laws of nature govern. And I had grown rapidly in my career, the things we want to, et cetera, et cetera. And next I know I'm still unhappy. I've got a big house. I'm unhappy. My ex-wife, she was unhappy. And we're like, what's going on here? We should be happy. Should be feeling great. Not happening. Started to explore.
Present itself.
When it's unhappy, you're distressed. There's arguments, there's fighting. I want more than what I have. Maybe I should do that. Maybe somebody else is doing this, so maybe I should do that. But I found soon that I would connect with people, and I started looking, and I was a voracious reader. Turned to organized religion, and I'm live at the human condition. So there's no Hindu, Christian, Protestant, Jewish blood. There's A, B, and O. Laughter is the same. We all come from the 5 elements of the earth: earth, fire, water, wind, and space. There are 5 inputs to our senses. There are 5 outputs. And in the end, nobody at the deathbed says, hey, I wish I had more money. I did this. They all wish I had more love. I spent more time with my family, etc. It soon occurred to me, whatever language it was, whatever faith-based system you looked at, there's some universality to what's going on. You look up, there's only one sun, it's 24 hours a day. The fastest creature in the world and the slowest creature in the world have the same 1 second. It is what you do in that 1 second. And if you're a space rocket, whatever that means to you as a human, you still have that 1 second. Success is fulfilling your God-given potential. So I started looking at who else has done it. One of the books I ran into was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. And it was powerful. It was life-changing for me in terms of understanding this. Years later, I found out he was of the Mormon faith, or Latter-day Saints, etc. But he had translated that in a way into business language. Deepak Chopra was a friend of mine. I met him in Boston 30 plus years ago when I first got there. We had common friends. He would talk and write from the Vedic perspective and combine it, but he brought things into the mainstream and talked about a certain way. But in the end, these are all universal truths, like gravity. So, people talk about positive thinking in a way, and it depends. And for example, if I just use this metaphor of life as a river, that's why we say go with the flow. You're a fish in it, I'm a fish in it. The Hindu is a fish in it, the Muslim is, the Christian is, the Jew is. Life is like the Holy Spirit. It's flowing in its direction. It's doing what it's doing. Now, if I start praying to, quote unquote, a God with positive attitude and say, can you please change the course of the river? And the other fish is praying to another deity of his and says, go the other way. What do you think the river does? The river goes its own way. And that's the Holy Spirit. That's the main spirit we talk about. And that is life. And that's why the phrase, go with the flow. And as a fish, if I accept that I'm a tiny little fish, the other fish is a shark, the other one's a whale, we don't make ourselves each other, you accept them, and now you do your best. So when I see LeBron dunk a ball, I'm not envious that I can't dunk a ball. I am inspired that he is fulfilling his gifts. Inspires me to go out and do my best because I don't think he can do an angiogram and save a leg. So each one of us has our own gifts. Now, how did this thinking come about? It was one idea at a time, and then I found myself understanding meditation is nothing but just getting in tune with the rest of the universe. So anytime I have a problem, I say thank you to the universe. I have a solution, thank you to the universe. Acceptance. I accept what it is, do my best. When somebody says, and I don't take anything personally, this was another book, The 4 Agreements. First is be true to your word. Second is never take anything personally. But what I understood from that, and for me, the most important thing, if you ask me about my journey, was I would learn one idea, not the whole book, apply it over the next few days, internalize it, then go to the next. And then with that one-on-one, I would start to try and apply this kind of, and it's like dissolving sugar in water or color in water. It's part of it now and not something separate. And that kind of thinking is what I try to bring into patient care, into everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. And certain universal laws of nature, like people feel before they think. Go up to a blind person and call him, yo, blind guy. He'll be mad at you, is the truth. And these kind of little things would come to me one at a time, and I just started picking them up from wherever I could find it. I go, I've been to mosques, temples, churches. All of them say things, words, as if they are magical words, but each one of them was written by somebody to explain what life is and what the universe is, to understand them and apply them. And what I soon found is without preaching it, but living it, people feel inspired right away. Whether you get on a plane, whether it's in the OR, whether you're in a restaurant, and you become effective with people solving their problems. Because in the end, when you're born as a baby, you're at ease. It is when you're not at ease, it is disease. And all of us wants to come to homeostasis, and life goes on in the meantime. And that's the journey of life. So that kind of understanding came to me about 20 years ago. And that's kind of when I said, hey, I'm not going to preach this. I'm going to practice it, live it. And I hope that makes sense, Dr. Phillips, in how I was trying to explain this journey to you.
And coming up right here on the Heart of Innovation, we're going to actually share with you now how he lives it and he practices it every single day to help patients to heal. So stay with us.
Well, hi there. I'm Dr. David Alper, and I'm here with this week's medical notepad. We are brought to you by Cardiovascular System Incorporated's Patient Advocacy Campaign, which is helping everyone take a stand against amputation, and thewaytomyheart.org. This week, we're going to talk about why every peripheral artery disease patient needs to do a self-foot examination on a regular basis, and quickly how to do it. Peripheral artery disease, or P.A.D., is restricted blood flow in mainly the leg arteries and feet due to plaque buildup in those vessels. Limited blood flow to the feet can cause trouble if you end up with a sore on your foot. Why? Because the blood carries the nutrients that help the body do the building that's necessary to close a wound healthily. And without those building blocks, wounds cannot close, infections cannot be fought, gangrene can potentially set in, and suddenly your doctor is talking to you about amputation. So much of this is preventable with early intervention and prevention. And prevention simply means to look and react. So let's talk about what looking involves. Well, the first thing is just that. You need to take off your shoes and socks every day and see what's going on down there. And if you're not able to reach down there, you get a good family member or you get a mirror in order to be able to see all parts of your feet. You need to look between the toes and see if the skin is breaking down. You need to look all over your feet to see any areas of redness or rubbing, because rubbing and friction is an early sign of breakdown of skin. You want to feel both your feet and see whether there's a difference in temperature. A difference in temperature could mean a difference in circulation from one foot or leg to the other. You want to look to see if the hair has stopped growing. Grass does not grow if the water is not there. And so if, in fact, hair has stopped growing, it again is a sign that circulation is down. You want to see if there's any blotchiness, any changes in color anywhere along your legs or your feet. And you want to look in general to make sure that you don't have any wounds there. Very often people with P.A.D. have what we call neuropathy, or a loss of sensation. And so you could have a bottom cut or between your toes that you're unaware of until it's too late. The second part of this is after you finish looking, it is time to react. You do not simply say, well, I'm going to watch it for a while and hopefully it will heal, because usually it will not, and early is definitely better. So if you find not just a cut, not just an open wound, not just a blood spot on your socks or on the bed sheets, but even just an area of redness that may be rubbing too much, it is time to bring it to a podiatrist or your family physician to say, I'm concerned and I have P.A.D. By doing this, you can be one of the 85% of people that are scheduled for amputations that can be prevented by doing this early intervention. With this week's medical notebook, my name is Dr. David Alper. For more information on peripheral artery disease, go to standagainsamputation.com, and for support at any time, go to thewaytomyheart.org. Thank you so very much, and we'll see you again with another medical notepad.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. We're talking to Dr. Paramjit Romi Chopra. He is one of the most inspiring physicians that I have met. I actually met Dr. Chopra at an event that we held in Chicago this summer for patients who have peripheral artery disease. And we were talking about the tools and techniques that doctors were using to help restore blood flow in the legs and get patients to start walking again. And Dr. Chopra was asked a question by one of the caregivers that was there in the group, the wife of one of our patients. And that was Tony, and he went into the most inspirational commentary, and all of us were completely in awe. And if you've been listening up to this point, you know that what he says and how he says it is incredibly mesmerizing. But something, Dr. Chopra, stood out to me just from what you were talking about before the break. And it was when you mentioned LeBron James and how he can dunk a basketball and how well he can play, and not being jealous of him, not being envious of him, not literally putting yourself down because of what he can do and you can't. And I apply that to patients who have peripheral artery disease, who compare themselves to someone next to them that can walk 1,000 feet or 10,000 steps, and they can only walk 10, that you can't look at them with that, jealousy or, being envious of them. You have to look at them as an inspiration and encouragement versus discouragement. Is that what you were saying?
Yes. The overall principle that I apply there is you are not in the world is in you. What do I mean by that? If somebody's colorblind, they can't see red, but red exists. So as we go through life, we have our own potential. We didn't decide when we'd be born. And we have the tools that the universe gave us. You can do the best with that to enjoy that journey. It's a fixed journey. We may be able to modify it a little bit, but it's like a treadmill going 1 second at a time. What I've found is a lot of people have so many gifts and they ignore those and they watch the others' gifts and are now putting themselves in a state of unhappiness, misery, lack of joy, and are not able to do their best. I've seen this. There's some videos and pictures, and even at Qatar, the FIFA, there was this young boy who literally has no limbs at all, and super inspirational, and just doing his best, whatever that is. Whether it's you look at so many other individuals who are just living up to their own potential, and ultimately going back to what the universe's gifts were for them. And I bring that to the patients as well.
And then, the thought that I would add to that is I'm reading a book by David Goggins called Can't Hurt Me. So he's a Navy SEAL who basically has kind of triumphed over all sorts of problems with his life, and his childhood was terrible. And, he had to go through Navy SEAL training 3 times. And he talks about this 40% potential, that most of us only utilize 40% of our potential. And his whole mantra is getting to more than 40%, 50, 60, 70%, whatever it is. And he talks about callousing your mind and embracing pain and learning from the pain and continuing to build. But I think if I'm hearing you correctly, it's all about realizing what your potential is and then continuing to kind of reach for a little bit more each day. And using, and I think the other thing too is you use other people to motivate you not to be envious of them.
Absolutely. I turned 60. I behave like I'm 40, and sometimes I'll joke with my team. I say, keep up with the old man. And what it is I'll take them to Bulls games. I take them to other stuff. And all of it is energy. All of it is how you manage your energy. We think we control everything. And when somebody tells me that, how much control do you have in your life? And Dr. Phillips, I'll invite you to do this. Take your left hand, close your nostrils. Take your right hand, close your mouth. Tell yourself, I'm not breathing. Think positively. And then let's see what happens. Within a few seconds, whatever that is, 30, 60, 90, maybe 180, whether you're a SEAL or not, at some point, your spirit, which is the real Dr. Phillips, and doctor is also just a role we play. Mm-hmm. When that spirit's going to say, sorry, Phillips, we're breathing today. Your time ain't come. And same way, you just don't decide when you're born. So accepting and reality, that's in different faiths call it different things. That reality, once you understand it, then it's things. So if you watch Star Wars, Luke, trust the Force. Go to Avatar, Anya. In organized religion, Christianity, they call it the Holy Spirit. That's life. And once you understand that rhythm and you go with the flow, you're going to do well. In Hinduism, they call it dharma. That's your purpose. The purpose of the sun is to shine. It doesn't care who gets the sunshine. The purpose of the tree is to give fruit and shade. It doesn't care who gets it.
Right.
So we all have a purpose. Now, how do you know your purpose is the question people always ask me.
That is really,
You feel it. You feel it. Try having a drop of kerosene. It's going to burn.
Well,
and, have you ever, you don't put kerosene in your car, do you?
Right.
But there are other engines that need kerosene. Now, if you gave you rocket fuel for your car, that's not going to work either. So from that point of view, if you are a bird, you will fly. You will feel happy when you reach the height that you're supposed to be at. And happiness is not... Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking about another book that I recently read, which I think everybody should read, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, who was the psychiatrist, the psychiatrist in the concentration camps. And to find something positive about Auschwitz or whatever concentration camp he was in is astounding to me. But he saw people living as best they could while they were dying. And I think I remember at one point in the book, he talked to a woman who was stuck in her whatever barracks they were in and was dying and was going to die, but she was looking at a tree. And I think that tree gave her some spirituality of her role in this universe and ultimately allowed her to have positive thoughts while everything around her was crashing in. And there's no reason for any positivity at all, knowing what your outcomes were going to be there.
But how do you translate that? How do you bring it down to the patient level? So you have a patient that it feels like they have a tourniquet wrapped around their leg. They have to wait to get treated, to get their blood flow restored. And it's painful. And all they want to do is die, have their legs cut off because they can't deal with the pain anymore. How do you take all of this thinking and bring it down to that level to the patient?
Sure. So here's what I do, and I do this on a daily basis with my patients and with myself. So first I say is, listen, you didn't ask for this disease. It came to you, right? So now that's acceptance. Now the next thing you have to do is have eternal optimism and do your best. We know we're going to check out one day. Now, what's doing your best mean at that time? Number one is, what things do you have control of? I have patients who say everything else, they want to do all this, but they will not stop smoking that pack of cigarette. Now, that's free will. You have a choice. Don't put kerosene in your car. Don't. So that's number one. Number two is, now you're going to go find the resources to help you find the solution that you need. What's the problem? We are designed to move. I can't move. When I try to move, I get pain. So that pain is a warning sign that something's going wrong in my blood vessels. Now, find the person who just sitting and complaining is not going to solve that problem. That's how I do that mindset. To bring it to it, I could elaborate a lot further, but I wanted to kind of give you a sense of how to do that. Because just crying about it, just screaming about it, not going to solve the problem. What is the solution we can find given the paradigm you're already in, given the framework you already have?
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's elaborate on that coming up in just a moment right here on the Heart of Innovation. So stay with us on this inspiring conversation.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Welcome back, everybody. We're continuing what I think is probably one of our more inspirational shows with the conversation with Dr. Chopra and Kym. I know we've got Doug on the line as well. And before we went to break, we were, I think, just basically going over, hey, controlling what you can control and not whining about it, frankly. And the way I approach this is, you have two ways to tackle a problem once you figure out what that problem is. You can stay up all night thinking about it, letting it bother you, not getting anywhere, or you can figure out solutions to it. And Dr. Chopra, you were just commenting on, let's do the latter. Let's start figuring out solutions. And this is for our patients, but also just in life in general. If you are worrying about money, you can stay up all night worrying about money, or you can figure out ways, okay, well, how am I going to get these bill paid? What am I going to do differently here? How am I going to take this problem and turn it into an opportunity?
Yes. So, the way I look at this, I say worry is a waste of imagination. It's like revving your engine and not doing anything about it. So the first thing becomes is, am I in a state of joy? Am I in a state of happiness? Without making it sound too kooky, is I need to walk and I can't walk, so I've got a problem. And the solution, and my goal is to find out why I have that problem and then try to solve that goal. We are not born alone. We need care before we are born, prenatal care. We can't even die alone. We need postmortem. Somebody needs to bury us, etc. So that's why the business of healthcare exists, and we go to other human beings for care. So immediately you build up a team of folks around you that you can rely on to take you to that sense of solution, to the sense of well-being that you need. Now, each person is different. To a 90-year-old, it may be his best that day is just getting out of bed and going to the bathroom. To a younger person, it may be I need to run the marathon. To me, it's, hey, I love taking care of people. That's my purpose in life. And so therefore, I need to be able to go out there, see the patients, inspire them, save their limbs, help them lead their best lives. And I'm doing my best. And with that, like I said, I was born to seek faith. And if you read across other cultures, literatures, etc., there's a concept of reality. We call it hukum, the Holy Spirit. Then there's the concept of eternal optimism. And in every faith, in one way or the other, it says that a higher power controls you. Christianity is, I'm the Alpha, I'm the Omega, and thy will be done. Judaism says it a different way. Islam says it a different way. They say surrender to the will of God. So if all this is happening, you can't just sit back and say, I just surrender to the will of God and do nothing. It's accepting what has come at me, and now what are the solutions I can bring in to break me to my sense of well-being to accomplish what my purpose is.
But it's also,
in my case,
sorry to interrupt, but it's also accepting the Taoism and the yin and the yang, the chaos and order that exists.
Yes.
It's you're walking on that tightrope, and it's a balance between the two. I mean, think about in the like when we're doing procedures, you're always kind of on the cusp of having something go completely off the rails and sideways.
Yes.
And it's not. You have to be able to, and when we do procedures and with life, just kind of control what you can control and be prepared. Yeah. But you also have to understand that there are things that just happen and they happen, and you have to roll with the punches, right?
Yes, and do your best. That's the part thing. So, people talk of prayer or meditation. We all balls of energy. The universe makes you a 1,000-watt bulb, but the energy comes not from the light bulb, not from the wire, not from the switch. It comes from one of the 5 elements of the word. The first law of thermodynamics is energy is not created or destroyed, only transferred. So that's the ultimate energy, the Holy Spirit, that transfers through different elements of the earth. A prayer is nothing but your feelings, energy going out, and feeling energy coming back to you in very subtle ways. That's what is considered the positive thinking, if you would. You see, they say this person is inspiring me into my spirit, or enlightening, just putting on, and they shed out this energy. So patients, when they are dealing with themselves, the ones who are depressed, who are looking at it from a negative thing, oh, my little toe is black, but they're ignoring the 99% of their gifts and not doing their best. I'm still smoking, and they blame that little black dot, but not solving it. That is not the right approach for them. So, but I don't preach to them. I don't yell at them. I try to be an inspiration, but work my way around it. And I asked them, if you had a horse, would you let it sit around all day? They go, no. I said, it's $1 million horse or $10 million horse. You can't get another one. They say your body is your horse. Your spirit, that's the real you, is driving it. Now, get up, go chase something. It may be 5 feet, it may be 10 feet, but go move. Stop complaining. Don't put kerosene in your body. Stop that smoking. Don't eat the garbage. Control yourself. And everybody's looking at, do I have a bigger house? Do I have this or that? I said, what faith are you in? Whatever they tell me, it's Hinduism, Islam, whatever Christianity. I say, what was Jesus' net worth? What was Muhammad's net worth? So they confuse net worth for self-worth, advertising all day, all that stuff. And I go, you know what, now think about it differently. You will die one day. Now my job is to help you have a great journey and let me do what I can. If that toe is black, I can't turn it around, but I'll help you prevent the rest. Now you work with me. That's how this mindset bring it in. And, you know, I have patients who text me, call me, and from while they're in a hospital somewhere. Just yesterday, I did a patient who is, you know, he's been told to get an amputation. He's in the hospital. I won't name the hospital, large one in the city. He puts the vascular surgeon on the phone. The guy's doing it, and he says, I only recommend amputation. He discharges himself. And is in our lab yesterday, we opened up. Now, he lost some part of his toes, but I took him and his family through this journey to help them understand this better, if that makes sense. Well, I wanted to kind of give you a feel for how I put this into practice daily.
You're right, too, because a couple of things you touched on. Number one, the aura I think that you give off or that we give off is felt by the patient. And if you give off negative vibes, or if your answer to most questions is no, the patients feel that, and they kind of, I think, react to it, and then they become more negative. However, what your insight is, let's be positive, let's do what we can. Obviously, need to be realistic, and then that rubs off on the patient. I had a patient yesterday or 2 days ago. She came in she had a STEMI, and we opened up one artery, and she was coming back for fixing the other one. And she said, you know, I could tell you were getting frustrated for that first case because it was complicated and it took a while. And I never really thought about that, but it's like, the patients do know what's going on.
Yeah.
They pick up on those vibes, and that really kind of caught my attention. Like, man, maybe I need to change my outward attitude a little bit here.
Yeah, the rule there is we as humans feel before we think. Mm-hmm. And we are live balls of energy. So if I have a negative day, I'm not feeling good, I just go into my shell for a moment, meditate, get myself back up to, and my mantra is be like the sun and shine. Yeah. Because 80 to 90% of communication is nonverbal. And people see your energy, feel your energy. I mean, I have this, you know, I've been doing this in life in general. It's not a role I play. It's who I am. I was just on a vacation trip overseas, and, you know, from the server at the front to the driver, I knew everybody's name. They knew my name. It's just how you interact with other humans. And I think that's
we've got to cut the break. We'll be right back, and then we're going to finish up this fantastic show. So stay with us.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Welcome back to the show, The Heart of Innovation. We have Dr. Paramjit Romi Chopra, along with, of course, Dr. Phillips is here. This has been one of the most inspiring shows, I think, that we have done to this point. And, you know, I really see what Dr. Chopra has been saying is, you know, hey, we're as patient advocates, as doctors, et cetera, we're only the facilitators of the desire that the patient already has for wellness. And when it comes to that feeling of wellness that you already have, the doctor can then reverse engineer it with the tools and techniques that they have to restore that blood flow, to restore you to hopefully that state of wellness that you desire. I'm curious from a patient's perspective, though. We have Douglas who's here, who's been following the conversation and also monitoring our chat with other patients. Douglas, what is your, just overall feeling from what you've heard so far?
Well, the question comes down to basically what we've all been taught, what we've heard about for the last hour is how we were living our lives, woke up one day diagnosed with P.A.D. Now, how do we live our lives not allowing the disease to be who we are, to continue to be the individual, the artist, the writer, all the stuff that we were before? How do we continue that now? And as a recovering addict, I would always say, I don't control anything. I manage life daily, living life on life's terms daily. How do we, as a patient, how do we not allow the disease to we wake up daily and not allow the disease to be who we are?
Yes. That's basically what we've been talking about is, your leg is attached to you, but it's not entirely you. And you have certain choices of understanding and dealing with the problems that you have. Tell me one person who doesn't have a problem. Even Jesus said that. Those who haven't sinned, cast the first stone. It's the human condition. And when we understand we have that human condition and there is a problem, you will find a solution to deal with it and not let that problem become the rest of your life, if that makes sense to you.
I would just add that you have choices to make. We all have choices to make. And you can choose to look at things in a positive way and a negative way. And in my opinion, it takes just as much energy, if not maybe more, to look at it negative. So, it sounds corny, but turn that frown upside down and get, like they said in Shawshank Redemption, get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah. I talk about another disease. I have a dear friend of mine. He's actually worth several $100 million. And he discovered he had cancer of the tongue. He's had half his tongue removed, half his jaw removed, radiation, et cetera, et cetera. And this man didn't give up for 1 second. If you talked to him, you thought he was somebody managing somebody else's condition. He was on top of it. He went through all of this, got a recurrence, went through the same thing twice. Mm-hmm. He's always on smiling. He says, listen, I got to die one day, but this is just one of the problems I have. I'm doing my best. And I've seen patients manage stuff. A friend of mine, again, I helped him through his journey. He got cholangiocarcinoma of his liver. And till the day he died at night, in the afternoon, he was from his bed running conference calls and solving problems and doing things. He goes, when my light's out, it's out. And then that night he just died. So my point is that a lot of people, while they have their gifts, are ignoring everything else they can do and focusing. So one of the ways I tell patients is I say, look around the room and count everything that is a circle that you can find. And this man, I give them 15 seconds. They'll just say, I counted 10 circles. I said, how many squares were there? They go, I don't pay attention to them. I said, the same way. You have some problems. You focus only on the problems, and there may be just 4 or 5 of those problems, but you have 100 positive things that you can do, which you've ignored. And that's one way of dealing with this. You can give it any different name you want. And then you start, if you're a writer, go ahead.
I think that's a fantastic way to end this show.
I agree.
Focus on the 100 things or 10 things that are positive and ignore the negative.
Thank you so much,
and
Dr.
solve the
Chopra,
problem.
for being here.
Thank you. Pleasure.
We really appreciate it. Happy New Year to everyone. We will see you back in 2023.
Happy New Year.
You've been listening to The Heart of Innovation with Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips. Our mission is to help patients live a better quality of life through comprehensive education, real-time support, and high-touch advocacy in partnership with thewaytomyheart.org and Take a Stand Against Amputation. Our purpose is to reduce the 1.5 million heart attacks and strokes and nearly 200,000 amputations annually. For more information regarding topics you've heard discussed on today's program, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. The Heart of Innovation is for educational and informational purposes only, and advice and views shared are not a substitute for medical advice from your own supervising physician. Do not act on any information provided in this show without the explicit consent from your own healthcare team. If you think you are having a medical emergency, call your local emergency number or go to the nearest hospital or emergency room.